Hidden beneath a large area of mature woodland in the South Downs National Park lie the traces of a forgotten landscape. In 2013, a Heritage Lottery-funded project to unearth the secrets of these high woods began.
You need to be curious in this job, and as we were doing rights-of-way management and footpaths, you'd find yourself scrabbling about and exploring a bit. You realise that there's stuff there and there's stuff there. So, I mean, without an archaeologist's eyes, you could see that you are, literally tripping over features everywhere you look.
Most professional archaeologists knew that there were lumps and bumps throughout the forests of West Sussex, and that there were very good surviving earthworks, mostly probably prehistoric and Roman. But I'd attempted on a number of occasions, even with the community, to do some surveying in various bits of woodland, including this one, East Dean Forest, and failed miserably. It was impossible to do anything with following the earthworks through the trees and doing proper surveys. So I kind of, having tried it, having failed, I kind of given up on the idea. And then, I guess about 10 years ago, I became aware of this new technique, LiDAR.
Fabulous lady from English Heritage, as it was then, did a presentation about this new technology called LiDAR and what could be done with it. So, and a little light bulb went on, and I thought this is exactly what we need in this part of the South Downs. And I got very excited and came back to base and talked to James Kenny from Chichester about this new technology,
which was allegedly going to be able to see through the leaves of the trees and actually produce unbelievable 3D mapping of all of this archaeology. And I thought, yeah, that's it. We can revisit this and have a go.
Airborne laser scanning produces really wonderful, detailed models of the ground surface. And the beauty of this technology means that you can remove the woodland cover from the landscape, leaving what in effect bare earth models of the underlying ground surface.
The laser light that is emitted from the plane hits the top of the canopy and bounces off, so you can plot the top of the trees. But some of that light will come all the way down to the ground surface and bounce back. And using some clever mathematics, you can take away the layer that is the top of the trees from the layer which is the ground.
These models can be used to explore and identify new archaeological features which have been hidden within and protected by the woodland canopy for inclusion into the National Mapping Programme.
National mapping programmes are Historic England projects across the whole of the country to take all the evidence that's captured in aerial photos and now also in LiDAR surveys, and to understand it in the aerial photos and to transfer that information onto originally maps but now geographical information systems. And what that lets us do is look at a block of landscape and understand it over time, understand the changes that have happened, understand the evidence that's still in the landscape, and then inform how the landscape is managed by the landowners. Our job as a National Park Authority is to conserve and enhance the heritage together with all our partners and landowners, but we can't conserve and enhance until we know what we've got.
The LiDAR data and the models generated provide wonderful depictions of the ground surface. What they don't do is tell you how to interpret it, and that's where our volunteers come in. There's no substitute for field survey, for people getting out and about in the woods with a whole range of resources. We take our LiDAR data with us, but we'll also take with us things like historic cartography, the historic environment record, so we have a whole range of different archaeological resources at our disposal when we're in the woods. And we can then go out, visit these features and try to interpret what we're finding.
World War II auxiliary hideout.
We have a whole range of volunteers with lots of different backgrounds. People who might be interested in ecology, people who've come from scientific backgrounds, engineering backgrounds. We've got some people here who have a really good working knowledge of the archaeological landscape itself, so you can pull together a really interesting team of people with lots of different perspectives, which makes this process of investigating the landscape really fascinating.
The volunteers were given special permission from the landowners to explore beyond public rights of way.
Originally I just went along to find out what was going on, but I got kind of sucked into it, and it's kind of blossomed from there.
It's given me a really different view to what's around in the woodland.
Now I sort of drive around and I see things like litchets and field boundaries that I would never have noticed before.
You know, it really brought the landscape to life.
People have been involved in field work, people have been involved in oral history, people have been involved in research in the record offices. And what's become clear is that it's only when you put all of the separate strands together that you can actually even begin to start telling the complete story. And if I've learned anything from this project, it is how important that all of those elements must be put together.
A sort of formal garden at the back, which intrigues me because there are traces of that which are still visible on LiDAR today. There's nothing on the ground, but on the LiDAR you can actually see that image, which is terrific.
We've had dozens of people interested coming down more or less twice a week down here, and they've come to Arundel Castle with me, and some of them have gone up to the National Archives. They've really got the bug.
I never thought I'd be interested in the archives. I thought, you know, I only went along in the first place to find out what it was all about, just out of curiosity, but I've really got into it now, and it's interesting, really interesting.
You certainly look at everything that you see every day differently. You look at names of places differently. You look at lumps and bumps differently. You look at houses. You look at everything differently and try to imagine how they've evolved over the years.
It's been an extraordinary learning curve. But it's been a very worthwhile one.
And she said she can remember when it snowed, the snow was so deep that they put tennis rackets on their feet or tied rags round so that they didn't go into the snow.
Things like oral histories give you a snapshot of daily life in a way that's unscripted. You're getting people's instant response, whereas I think when you have to write things down, it maybe becomes filtered. So yeah, you get a sort of pure snapshot of what people are thinking and feeling, and their stories from past generations too.
Photographer Anna-Katrine Perkis has been following the project from the beginning.
I didn't really quite understand at the time how big this project would be and how many different people would be involved. It's been very interesting to meet so many different people. Wonderful faces and wonderful people to work with.
It's all about people, actually. It's an amazing landscape, but it's the things people have done in the landscape, the evidence they've left on the ground, in the record office, and in the stories that we're being told by people who live and work here today.
I think the LiDAR project is one of the most important things I've seen in 30 years in field archaeology.
It's a terrific way to see a snapshot of the whole of this landscape. At a glance on one of those LiDAR maps, you can see the whole history of the human race almost in this area since the Ice Age.
The results have been astonishing.
It's just such a powerful tool.
It has long been thought that there ought to be a Roman road between what was at Chichester and what was at Arundel in the Roman period. However, actually, when you go out to try and find this Roman road, it's not there. There isn't any actual evidence for a Roman road, or at least there wasn't until the LiDAR was done. And LiDAR has picked up, running through forests just to the west of Arundel, a very straight section of trackway with a bank and ditch each side of it. And this is almost certainly this lost, if you like, Roman road between Arundel and Chichester.
We knew that we would find lots of things, but actually the archaeology that we found, those field systems running right across the South Downs, Bronze Age probably, definitely prehistoric, but showing that people have lived and worked on this landscape and changed it over the centuries.
When we've got this LiDAR, we can look down and see how all these things interlink, and that's what's such a difficult thing to do when you're working in the woods.
When an area of woodland is felled, and if somebody happens to fly over with a plane and take photos, you could see little bits of field systems. What's amazing now is being able to join it up into this great big picture right across the area. And not just the field systems, but then all the things that came along later, like all these deer parks being created and the land being managed.
Well, hi everyone, thanks a lot for coming out to our dig today. This is obviously Secrets of the High Woods project, and we're about 1 week into our first community archaeology dig.
It's really, really important that we share the information. There's no point having information and keeping it on the lock and key. So we've got an exhibition that's going to tour around some of the museums and heritage sites this year, and some places want it next year as well. We're going to produce learning resources that schools can continue to use beyond the 3 years of the project. We'll have a book. We've got the computer generated images, which are absolutely amazing in terms of making this landscape come alive. And all of these things are to help everybody understand the South Downs landscape, so that they understand why it's important, how we can all work together to look after it, and how they can get involved and be part of the next round of activity.
Sharing the new discoveries with the public through events and activities has been an important part of the project. The travelling exhibition, hosted at different venues across the project area, has brought the historic landscape to life with new technology.
Well, the exhibition, we decided, shouldn't just have still pictures. It needed to have things that were alive and working. So we've used computer-generated imagery and augmented reality to take some of the sites that we found and bring them alive, put the people back into them, put the buildings back in, show the sorts of way that people were raising animals or hunting animals.
It's all been really interesting, learning about the deer and how people used to live, wasn't it? Yeah.
I love the fact that you've got iPads and the technology is there now, so that you can get kids involved in understanding it, and it's a virtual reality, which is, I think, is just brilliant.
It really makes it very engaging. People come into the exhibition and that's one of the things they go to first. It captures their imagination, and then they go on and look at the rest of the exhibition with a new set of understanding.
People are enjoying themselves. People are getting to know their archaeology, and people are getting to discover and tell us about the archaeology that's out there. That's a fabulous thing.
I've enjoyed having the opportunity to access areas that the public wouldn't otherwise go into.
Everybody's been so generous with what they know, and I've learnt an awful lot.
It's this people thing, finding out about people while you're walking through the woods from one archaeological feature to another.
The project is just the start. It's actually throwing up so many more questions than answers, as with so much in archaeology. And what we're hoping at the end of this project, not only will we have a really experienced volunteer base who can bring a whole range of new skills to the existing volunteer ranger service at the South Downs National Park, but also that the data set itself continues to be used to promote archaeological research and historic landscape research. There's so much more that we can do with this data, and it will provide a really exciting research resource for decades.
It's done great things with community engagement, and it's done great things in terms of sort of research and discovery. And I'm very hopeful now that that will come sort of down from its sort of academic realm and start to influence day-to-day land management in the woodlands across this part of the Downs.
Thanks to the LiDAR, we've now got National Mapping Programme coverage of this area, and this block of the National Park is done. The challenge is, which bit do we do next?